Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Prospect Central. Wow. Welcome back to Prospect Central 101. My name is Chris, and today, joining
Nice.
me, we have.
Braden.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs in this video. And their Super Bowl preview. That
Yeah.
sounds wordly phrased, but we'll roll with it. Previewing the Kansas City Chiefs entering the Super Bowl. So, Kansas City is a team that both of us are much more familiar with than the 49ers. So hopefully this video goes better than the last one. For those of you guys who did see that one first, that was very difficult for me to make. Not gonna lie. Which is why I kind of relied on you for the most part. But the good news is this time around, we both have watched quite a bit of Kansas City Chiefs tape throughout the course of this season and a little bit last year as well. So we'll have a little bit more background between the two of us, especially, to kind of go
Yeah.
off of and base our own opinions and facts and statements and stuff around what we have personally seen. I haven't watched most of their, well, not most, more of their games. So, when that being said, we will open up the same way as we did the San Francisco video, though, and talk a little bit about their formational usage. So, is there anything really here that sticks out about the Kansas City Chiefs offensive personnel usage?
It's interesting. They use 11 personnel a lot more than over double of what the 49ers uses, which makes sense because they don't. I don't.
Oh,
They
hold on.
have. There you go. Yeah.
This'll fix some things. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, they use it on 60% compared to 40. So 20% more, a full 20% more than the 49ers. So it's just because it's just not necessarily a right way to do it per se. It's just they're it just shows the difference in how each team is built, in my opinion. Which, the Chiefs, they're built on spreading teams out, just throwing the ball, letting Mahomes do his thing with Tyreek Hill, Watkins, McCole Hardman, Kelsey, Demarcus Robinson, all that stuff where they don't really have much. I mean, Damian Williams is cool and stuff, but they don't have the fullback necessarily like a Kyle Juszczyk, or that dominant running back where they could give 30 carries to and carry the Chiefs to a victory. So it just shows how the very big difference of how each team is built.
True. So one thing that I found pretty interesting looking at this is their usage of 12 personnel,
Hmm.
and we don't really talk about a lot about how the Chiefs run two tight end stacks, but they do quite a bit more than you think. 310 snaps there and 50 snaps there, and then even 60 snaps with two running backs on the field, plus all the extra ones given here. Is that something that you think could play a factor in this particular game? Is their second tight end? We talked a little bit about this in the San Francisco video, but
Um,
because we all know about what Travis Kelce can do, we'll get more into Travis Kelce specifically later. But their ability to throw two tight ends.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. Well, I'm just looking something up real quick. But yeah, no, it's very. I mean, I mean, having two tight ends that can work and know all that stuff is very important. I'm just and just trying to feel like who is their backup tight end.
It was Deion Yelder when we played him.
Yeah, could be, but anyway, it's just like even if it's not necessarily the most well-named player, having another tight end that can be a pass threat, it just gives us the 49ers more things to prepare about. I wish you were clicking on the Broncos, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Yeah, they're saying it's Blake
Blake Bell.
Bell, So yeah, obviously they're not the most well-known people, but if they are able to give a couple catches, forces the 49ers to think about other things and adjust the stuff they weren't preparing for. I feel like it couldn't be necessarily the a bad thing. So yeah, having two tight ends, I feel having two tight ends on the field that can be weapons in the passing game is uh is very important and I wouldn't say vital, but definitely a great tool to you have in your arsenal.
Oh, apparently, two of Deion Yelder's 3 career catches came against the Lions.
Good for him.
So maybe it is actually Blake Bell, and that says a lot more about what we did against him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blake Bell had 8 for 67, including a 30-yard catch this year. So, yeah, 2 for 15 against the Texans, too, in the playoff game. Fascinating. So, yeah, he probably is in all actuality their backup. Which means that we gave up 43 yards to their third string tight end as their second leading receiver in that game.
Sad.
No, not sad. That's a good thing. It means that we shut down their other. Well, of course, to be fair, we didn't have to play Tyreek Hill when we played him either. But we shut down their other weapons pretty good. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what their second tight end and their third tight end, maybe they do bring back Deion Elder for this game.
Can you pull close the ad real quick?
I'm saying ad. It's a
whatever. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what the tight end group does beyond Kelsey. So, anything else personnel-wise that you want to know before we get into the player talk?
I mean, not a whole lot else to talk about. They have they just rely a lot on 3 wide receivers because they have 3 very good wide receivers. Occasionally you'll get the 12 or the 21, but mostly you're going to run that. But even they may even run a couple to maybe 1 or 2 times they'll even run a 4 wide receiver set. But yeah, I feel like 3 wide receiver, 11 personnel is going to be the main thing. You're going to have a lot of shotgun stuff from the Chiefs, and I feel like they do a lot of stuff with motions and with their creativity and how they are able to attack their opposing defenses with different variants of 11 personnel.
Nice. So, I think you pretty much touched on every major key component there. So, we'll move into the positional groups here.
Yeah.
And the one guy that really, really sticks out at the very top here is Patrick Mahomes.
God, I wish he went and played baseball.
One of the most dynamic players in the game today, in that same class with your now reigning unanimous most valuable player in the National Football League, Lamar Jackson, as well as a couple other guys as well. Russell Wilson in that category is another major guy. I'd say probably those are your top 3 quarterbacks this year. When healthy, Patrick Mahomes obviously missed time. But is there anything that you really want to kind of hit on as his biggest strengths and weaknesses that you just kind of want to throw out there?
I mean, we could discuss 2 hours alone on his strengths. He's insane, and I've been told from older people this is basically what everyone else felt when John Elway became our quarterback in the 80s. But it's insane. The power he had, the just natural, strength in that arm to just effortlessly throw it 50 yards downfield, no problem, is insane. He's just run around doing 360 no scope and just deliver it perfect 20 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. And he's about to get sacked by Von Miller. He just flips it and throws it with his damn left hand. It's just what is there anything he cannot really do? So really, if you want to try and have success, which is, you can't. I don't feel like you can fully stop a guy like Patrick Mahomes. You just got to contain him, and basically, you gotta figure out ways to just try and confuse him, I guess, and force him into a mistake, and maybe shit break his confidence a little bit, because that's really the only real way you can figure out a way to get some success, because he doesn't show a lot of extreme weaknesses on film. The only thing that really, the only main thing I can think of that we discussed in the San Francisco video is that the interior pressure, which is why DeForest Buckner is going to play a very big role in this game. So yeah, he's just gotta you got to figure out a way to confuse him, which is going to be difficult in itself.
One thing that I really wanted to talk about with Patrick Mahomes, and I really don't talk about this a lot when I bring him up, because a lot of what I do is based on where he is today. And we don't really do a lot of pro videos and everything. So most of my takes on pro players are based on what they've done in the current year. But one thing that's really impressed me with Patrick Mahomes, almost more so than anything else, is his ability to consistently grow and get better and progress in his development pattern. And another video, annual, whatever it will be, video based daily video, I guess, mentioned Matt Patricia here. And he talked about this when he was previewing the Super Bowl for NBC. And he basically said, like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a guy who's continued to grow and develop and has learned and changed what he does uh, since he came out of Texas Tech. And I mean, even just going back and I could pull up a scouting report from what people were saying about Patrick Mahomes as a rookie. Let me see here, and I can tell you a lot of it's going to just be raw. Let's even just go draft profile here.
Yeah, and I will say this: as a fan of a division opponent, it sucks facing him twice this season.
Can be inconsistent in his approach. He needs to play inside the offense and show more discipline. Too eager to go big game hunting. Ravenous appetite for the explosive play that can bring unwarranted trouble. Willingness to default to playground style appears to limit his ability to get into a consistent rhythm. Needs to improve anticipatory reads and learn to take what the defense gives him. How much of the stuff has he already improved at?
Mostly all of that.
Yeah. Decision making can go from good to bad in a moment's notice. I feel like this is kind of one of those players reading. Do you remember? Was that with Dan Patrick? Dan Patrick does this. He has players read their old scouting reports. I feel like this is what we're
Yeah.
doing right now. Operates from a narrow base and allows the upper body and arm to race ahead of his feet. Has a dip and wind up in his standard release. Explosive delivery and follow through causes some throws to sail. Okay, that does still happen. He has some sailed throws, which is why he's not a 99% accurate passer. Needs better touch on intermediate and deep balls. Carries the ball a little low in the pocket. Okay. Impatient. I'm not even going to continue reading out to that point. That's kind of what we're talking about here. As a rookie, people say Patrick Mahomes was impatient. If anything, now he sits in the pocket too long. So his progression pattern and development continues to grow and develop and learn, not even just over the course of seasons, but over the course of games. And we saw what he was able to do uh, versus Tennessee, right? Tennessee is set up to be a very similar defense to what the Lions did. And for a large portion of that game, the Lions did a pretty good job stopping Patrick Mahomes. It was in the fourth quarter when they hit 2 or 3 really big plays, specifically the Travis Kelce hooking ladder, that really got him a lot of his yardage. And even
Question.
yardage is a chunk stat. by the way.
Was that hook and ladder by Kelsey planned, or was that just an
It
improvisation in the moment?
looked it looked like it was an improvisation based on the way that it
I
unfolded.
remember the crowd when it looks like he dropped it. Everyone's like, "All right," and then they're like, "Oh no!"
And there was one of those like, oh, type of like
Yeah,
almost sighs. Yeah, that was
yeah.
crazy. That was one of the most memorable moments of, I want to say, the last decade for me. But yeah, uh, it's kind of one of those very interesting things, and he can be. We talked about this with Kansas City's off, or not Kansas City, in the San Francisco offensive video, is he can do this by himself, and that's beat teams in a variety of ways. He can beat teams throwing the ball 50 yards down the field over the top. He can beat teams taking these shutdown runs and throwing to his running backs. He can beat teams throwing to his third string tight end. He can beat teams just feeding Travis Kelsey the ball 15 times. Or he can beat teams running the football out of the pocket. It's crazy how he can find a different way to be a different team every single week. And that's what makes him such a dynamic talent. Is you have guys who can run the ball 20 times a game like Lamar Jackson. You have guys who can throw the ball 50 times a game like Tom Brady. You have guys who can, oh, I mean, Tom Brady can also win in a variety of ways too, but you have guys who can throw the deep ball 100 bajillion times and take shots over the top like Jameis Winston and take 50-50 plays. But the amount of players who can do every single thing based on, first off, the defense, uh, but also their surrounding talent and who's healthy and who's available, uh, is really, really small, even just over the course of NFL history. And that's really what makes him the player, the caliber of player that he is, and why he is still my number one or number two quarterback going into next season. Your thoughts on that?
And who's the best quarterback?
No, on how Mahomes is able to beat teams in a variety of ways.
I mean, yeah, he's beaten my team by throwing with his offhand. It's insane how well he just seems to adapt to no matter what. It's just he not only is he a natural and athletic freak, he has the brains and looks
Yep.
like work ethic to back it up. More importantly, because you could have all the natural talent, but if you have the brain of a potato, you can only do so much. So it's like
Um,
it's insane how you gotta adjust and how well he adjusts and everything to everything that teams are giving him.
I probably
So
should have pulled this up before. You keep on.
uh, it is, I mean that's all I have to say on that
Oh,
prospect.
okay.
Unless you want me to talk about who I think is the best quarterback in the league,
For like 5 seconds while this loads. Yeah.
it's Patrick Mahomes, and it's not close.
Interesting.
Okay, not close is a bit too far, but I feel like he's definitely the best quarterback.
So we'll go into some of these points. Now, again, one thing that we just talked about was how Mahomes consistently improves. So some of these points might be a little bit outdated. And another thing to mention too is we didn't have to play Tyreek Hill, so there's a little bit of a difference in game plan for what San Francisco would do. But my key and personnel differences, San Francisco doesn't necessarily have the person. We already talked about the San Francisco side in the San Francisco video. But here are three things that we did that helped us limit what Patrick Mahomes can do. The first is pressure. And you guys can read word for word and everything else like that. But we saw when we did our tape watch before week 4, so the very beginning of this season, that we saw stunts work out pretty frequently, and we saw overload blitzes work out. So sending 3 guys around the left tackle, or sending 2 guys around the right end, or flipping your defensive tackle like again DeForest Buckner and bringing him around the end, or bringing Armstead inside. So that's one way to kind of help limit Patrick Mahomes. Another one is the man coverage, specifically again from a Lions perspective. It worked for us. And again, not having to play Tyreek Hill helped with that as well. And then the third was playing different levels. You always had to make sure, because of his ability to win in a variety of ways, that you defend not only the deep pass against a speedster like Tyreek Hill, but they also have, we'll get more into the specific weapons in a minute, they also have the weapons to be able to get into the intermediate throws in the field, those 10 to 15, 20-yard range, and the short throws to get that rack yardage. So very important to make sure that you not only take away the shots over the top, but also those throws underneath. But you're right. One thing that I was going to get to kind of close out the Mahomes portion of this video is his mental ability. And we talked about his ability to extend plays with his feet and everything else like that. But the one aspect of Mahomes' game, I'm just going to read the direct quote, that goes underappreciated is his mental traits, I guess. And his ability to read and manipulate defenses, adjust, and make a play, specifically as the game progresses. So, definitely a point that I always try and highlight when it comes to Patrick Mahomes is, as you said, like, he has all the talent physically, but what takes him, I guess, from that great quarterback to that elite game-changing quarterback is his ability to make the mental plays. So, anything else you want to add on Patrick Mahomes? Because as you said, I can talk about him for 2 hours. I watched tons of his tape.
It's very depressing knowing I'm gonna have to see him twice a year for the next decade. It's very depressing to think about that. That's all I'm gonna have to say is another 12, 15 years of Patrick Mahomes is I'm not mentally prepared for that. It's gonna suck.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I dealt with it with Aaron Rodgers.
All right, yeah, that's a good. Alrighty, never mind. We'll move on.
I mean, not that Mahomes. I honestly think Mahomes is probably going to end up better than Aaron Rodgers by the time, simply because he started younger.
I basically I could go into an argument, but it's completely off topic. Then we don't need that in this video.
Fair enough. So I'm just going to go through and flow through the progression of this. I'm assuming that you were done with your Mahomes points, right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about, sticking with the past game and following the same track as we did with the 49ers video, is their receivers. So I'm going to move away from this for a second, and I want you to go talk a little bit about Tyreek Hill, someone that we didn't necessarily get to see live, but someone that we've gotten to see a lot of film on over the course of the last couple of years.
I mean, he's the fastest player in the NFL, according to basically everyone. The dude has absolutely unreal speed, and he not only does that, he's very technically sound with his footwork. He's very solid in his route running, and he's great at catching the ball and tracking it. So it's just not only does he have Olympic level speed, he also is a very good football player. A very good football player as well. So it's he's going to be a matchup problem regardless of, like, you could put prime Darrelle Revis on him, and I think he'd still be a matchup problem. Like, he's that insane with his speed. It's just that game breaking.
Best bet is probably Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Yeah, match that speed with Deion. Anyways.
Was that all you had on Hill?
Yeah.
Sweet. So yeah, again, another guy who can take away the top off the defense, really stretch the defense vertically, and we saw that against the Patriots in Week 1 of 2017. was a great
Yeah,
example. I think that was his coming out party too, actually.
yeah, and that was when Alex Smith was still the quarterback.
Right? Yep. And someone who really could just make it a game-changing type of play with two hands on the football one time. So, moving on a little bit here, I'm just going to kind of flow through the course of this. You guys can read word for word. But Nicole Hardman is another guy who can kind of provide that speed and stretch the field utilizing Mahomes' arm strength as well. So, any thoughts on what Nicole Hardman can do in this particular game and how he might have some sort of impact? Obviously, Hill's back now, so maybe not as much as he would have possibly versus Detroit. But
I mean, McCole Hardman, he's just a less refined Tyreek Hill, you know? He's still, although not quite as fast, it's almost still ridiculous speed. It's just he isn't quite as refined in his route running and his footwork yet. So I feel like he's more of the pure deep threat and like a pure deep threat than Tyreek Hill is, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's just like, yeah, he has game breaking speed that it's just you still have to worry about, and that it's still very difficult to match up on him, and just because basically in main coverage you basically tell him, you tell your Andy Reid's telling McCole basically went off the line of scrimmage, basically have a good release, and then basically go in a sprint race, you know. And it's very difficult to keep up with his speed, and he so it's just he's not quite refined yet, but I feel he's still very much someone you need to worry about.
Right. And when if you see him get on the field on Sunday, uh, watch out for him to be the guy to make a play. Either he's going to be a decoy and he's going to probably be stretching the field, or he's probably going to be the target on the play, kind of like Marvin Hall was for us in Detroit last year. Uh, Got to be one of those guys where, like, you better have someone on him, and if not, your deep safety better be ready to cover that portion of the field, depending on what kind of coverage you're running.
Yeah,
Safeties, plural, whatever. Definitely have to account for him if he sees the field in a consistent role. So another guy that is really well known is one of the more higher paid wide receivers in all of football, Sammy Watkins. Guy who got drafted out of Clemson, and another guy I'm very familiar with from watching college tape. Uh, very exciting player to watch after the catch. Has the ability to extend plays, has the ability to make guys miss, can kind of create for himself, screens, quick throws, especially against a San Francisco defense that can and will bring pressure and get pressure even when they don't extend the house. He's going to be someone that's going to have to make a lot of plays in that quick, short passing game underneath. Uh, your screen passes, your slant passes, your drags, your hitches, all those 3-5 yard routes, Watkins can run and run really effectively on a consistent level. So, anything that you want to add on Sammy Watkins?
I mean, you basically said it. It's just he's very physical upon it, but at the same time, he the way he wins after the catch is different than Tyreek Hill. You know, he's more elusive and more agile and more quick, I would say, than just pure speed than Tyreek Hill. But still, on his day, he's still a very dangerous receiver, and he's another receiver that you always need to have somebody on him when he's on the field.
Another guy, of course, is Demarcus Robinson. And Demarcus Robinson, I feel like, is kind of one of these forgotten guys in this receiving room because you have such a electrifying threat in Tyreek Hill. You have such like a big name, popular type of guy in Sammy Watkins that you almost kind of sleep a little bit. A lot of people do that aren't familiar with Kansas City. They haven't watched too much of their games on Demarcus Robinson. And he's kind of the guy that really completes that receiving room. In the modern NFL, you really like to attack all three levels of the defense. I let off the Mahomes segment with this too. And you really have that guy who can. Mahomes is a guy who can attack deep with your Tyreek Hill, McCole Harmon type of threats. Can attack that underneath, quick throw, passing game, get the ball out quick against pressure type of attack. And you can do that with Sammy Watkins. But kind of rounding all of that out is Demarcus Robinson. He can attack the middle of the field, the intermediate throws, those 10, 15, 20 yards, your digs, your curls, your corners, and those types of routes that kind of connect the defense and really put stress in zone coverage. And that's what really allows Mahomes to attack zone coverage so well, is his ability to hit the underneath throw, the deep throw, and just as much the intermediate throw with Demarcus Robinson. So he's not making the extreme plays after the catch that Watkins can, getting 100 bajillion yards beyond the catch point because he's not catching it 3 yards within the line of scrimmage. He's not the guy who's going to take those 50-yard go routes to the house, but he's the guy who can be your chain mover, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, 4th and 3 if they need to go for a 4th down late in the game. Those types of plays. He is someone who can be your consistent go-to chain mover, and maybe not score your 50-yard touchdown or get the 30-yard reception, but keep your offense on schedule, keep your offense moving, and that's going to be what helps them win the game against the San Francisco pass defense that really makes their money on shutting down that intermediate portion of the field and limiting opposing teams' ability to not necessarily throw over the top, but to kind of keep plays in front of them. He's that guy who can kind of slip through behind that first level and that shallow coverage and make a play in between the deep and in the short field. So, anything that you want to add on Demarcus Robinson?
I mean, you said it all. I mean, he's not a guy that's gonna often show up in the highlight reels, and he's never gonna make the sexy play, but he's always gonna be a guy that a reliable receiver that's always going to be keep your offense on schedule, going to be able to move the chains when you need to, and guys like that is how you win Super Bowls. Guys that don't necessarily aren't flashy, won't show up in a highlight reel much, but still that he's a very important cog to their machine.
Yep. And honestly, if he ends up making the play that wins the Kansas City Chiefs the Super Bowl tonight, I would not be surprised at all.
No.
Really. So, and again, that says a lot considering some of the name recognition of some of these other players, right? I mean, I'll talk about how popular Tyreek Hill is, and Sammy Watkins, big name dude. But we talked about this in the San Francisco video a little bit too. It's generally those guys who aren't the biggest names that make those game-changing plays.
Unless you're Von Miller. Then
well, even then, like, there were a lot more plays in that game that weren't made by Von Miller that won Denver that game. Like, Denver did not win the Super Bowl because of Von Miller.
Anyways, that's a different discussion for a different day.
So, I feel like we've said that a lot in this video.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's a couple of ways that you can limit some of these guys' abilities. This is, again, mostly Lions specific because this was Lions article based on what I wanted the Lions to do. But mainly just find a good slot corner. Kwan Williams is going to be huge for them this week. Find a way to limit Robinson in the middle of the field and find a way to take away their speed over the top and make sure that you cover all three levels. Especially if you're playing zone. If you're playing zone, you can't have hard coverage at the line and soft coverage deep. You gotta have that in between zone coverage as well, which is why I think combo coverage is going to be important. Maybe you put your slot corner in man coverage, and maybe you leave your outside corners in zone, or vice versa. So making sure to mix up looks, but also mix up what you do within those looks is going to be a big part of that San Francisco game plan and how to slow down Kansas City. Anything else that you want to add about the Kansas City receiving group?
No.
Fabulous. Moving on to their tight end unit, I didn't really do too much in Travis Kelce because I think we all know what Travis Kelce is capable of. So I'll let you kind of talk. I spent most of the time covering the receivers. I'll let you go on a little bit of a Travis Kelce start here.
I mean, basically, it's just he's he's basically the guy who keeps the machine going, if that makes sense. He's always there. He's always finding a way to get open. He's always finding a way to get a first down on third and 9. He's always able to get 11 yards and move the chain. It's just he's a very physical receiver, and again, not the guy who you're really worried about just taking a 5 yard drag route to the house, but still he's a physical receiving option. He's very very reliable, very dependable, and he always finds a way no matter what you seem to do, and he always finds ways to get open.
And one thing that's really fun to watch about Travis Kelce is he might not be George Kittle in terms of his ability to block in line, but he can line up all over formations and in a variety of different alignments and various alignments and find success out of it. He can move out wide and be one of your extra Z's. He can be your slot guy on either side of the line. And occasionally, I believe he does still line up some in line. So has the ability to kind of force different mismatches, and especially once you get into that second half, be a guy who Patrick Mahomes can look to kind of be that security blanket for them in a big time game, in a big time moment. Anything else you'd like to add on Travis Kelce?
No, I'm good.
Oh, and one more thing while I'm looking at this page is one thing that the Lions were able to do outside of, again, the hook and ladder play to kind of limit Travis Kelce's ability was we have a star safety in Tracy Walker Wyatt, a huge fan of, one of my favorite players in the league. Uh, San Francisco doesn't exactly have that. Quincy Tart's pretty good, but he doesn't exactly have the ability to man up a guy like Tracy Walker does. So it would be very interesting to see how San Francisco tries to take away Travis Kelce, because Travis Kelce also has the mental awareness to find those soft spots. And we talked a little bit about that with Robinson. It has that mental awareness to find those soft spots in the zone, specifically in that intermediate portion of the field. So keeping those chains moving, like you talked about at the beginning of the Kelce portion, and really just find ways to pick up chunk plays without picking up explosive plays necessarily, is going to be a big part of what they do on offense. So uh, we already went over Patrick Mahomes, the pass catchers, the receivers specifically, and Travis Kelce. Is there anything about the passing attack in general that you didn't go over?
I mean, doesn't I mean not necessarily the. We can get to it later. So no, I'm good to go.
Fabulous. So their rushing offense is, after talking all about their weapons, kind of the last thing you get to when you talk to Kansas City, which is really interesting because Andy Reid is a very good schemer when it comes to running the football, and Bieniemy is, as you would be very familiar with, a former running back.
Yes,
As their
he is
offensive coordinator.
actually. He is Colorado CU's all-time leading rusher.
Right.
He
So
holds the record. So yeah, he definitely knows how to scheme a running back.
it is something that is very, very important to the Kansas City offense. And Mahomes can throw the ball 60 times, but running the ball, especially in the playoffs, as we all talk about all the time, is something that still has to be done and is going to be a critical portion of the game. Might help open up some play action passes. That's debatable now, but uh, the effect it has on game plans, stacking the box maybe at a certain perspective, and things like that, It can do a lot for that Kansas City offense and opening up other looks and forcing Kansas City to do something, not Kansas City, forcing San Francisco to do some things that they might not necessarily want to do in the back end to account for that run game. So their main running back now is Damian Williams. Darwin Thompson doesn't really do a whole lot, unfortunately, for them. And LaShawn McCoy has at times been inactive.
Apparently, he's going to be inactive for the Super Bowl.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So, what have you seen from Damian Williams over the course of this season and or your time following him that could impact the Super Bowl today?
I mean, he's a talented running back. He's able, bigger guy. He's very physical. He's able to get through contact, but at the same time, he has some speed to where he can where he can house a big run. But he had 84 yards, I believe, against the Texans, or it was the Chargers. It was late in the season, past few weeks. But still, he's a very talented running back, and although it's definitely not the featured part in the Chiefs offense, because Patrick Mahomes and stuff is easy to market, but for the NFL, but still Damian Williams is an important part of the offense. You got to have some semblance of balance in this league, and Damian Williams is definitely a good running back to have.
And continuing off of that, what?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you did. So continuing off of that a little bit is their other running back, Anthony Sherman.
Yeah.
A very, I don't want to call him popular player. There's a specific type of phrase.
Known.
No. Like like how like the mob always like loves someone.
The
It's
mob.
like mob mentality, except like positive. I can't think of the
No.
phrase, but there's
Yeah.
like
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, very well liked person,
Yeah. Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
popular for little reason, despite not producing a whole heck of a lot.
Oh. I
That
know
type of
what you're
guy,
talking about, but I can't think of the phrase.
right? Yeah. Uh, Cult figure, cult hero. There it is. He's a very cult hero type of guy. Uh, but he still has the ability to make plays and impact the game. I forget which game it was. Unfortunately, my game memory isn't all that great. But there was one game he caught like a heck of a long touchdown pass, didn't he?
Who? Damian Williams?
No, Anthony Sherman.
Yeah, I believe so. Actually,
Didn't he? I think there
shoot,
was one game he got like a 60, 70, 80-yard touchdown pass or something.
sounds about right. Yeah.
Like he still has the ability to kind of factor into that explosiveness of this Kansas City offense. And while we talk all the time about Travis Kelce, all the time about Tyreek Hill, and all the time about Sammy Watkins, uh, another guy who can kind of just go out and make a play. And like we talked about with Demarcus Robinson, if he's the guy that wins the Chiefs the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. You?
No, I mean I mean, yeah, he's definitely a very important. I mean, I don't necessarily say important, but he has value in that offense. I'm always pro fullback. So he definitely has the ability to be a very big factor in the receiving game, and I'm interested to see how much Andy Reid is going to utilize him today.
So in the San Francisco video, you called Kyle Juszczyk the best fullback in the league, right?
Yeah, correct.
Is Anthony Sherman number 2? Because it is very easy to see why he would be.
I mean, I will say he's in the debate. Yes, I think he is up there.
So we could have a game where we have debatably the top 2 tight ends and the top 2 fullbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
round of applause for creativity because everyone seems to hate on the tight end position and its value, and everyone seems to hate on the fullback position in X value. People were giving the Lions so much hate when they drafted Hawk last year for the positional value. And I feel like the Super Bowl, just as a general note, without focusing on Kansas City for a second, is going to be so fun for me to watch, even as a fan of defense, just knowing that it's going to be tight ends and fullbacks that run the world.
Okay.
Anyway, and so, he ran for a second. But yeah, Anthony Sherman is definitely going to be a guy who can go out and possibly contribute, whether that be in a blocking role, or like we talked about, Juszczyk as a receiver, or maybe even play as a runner. We'll see.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, anything else that you'd like to add on the Chiefs run game?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Fabulous. So, one thing that we haven't really talked a lot about, that we did a little bit more so with the San Francisco team, because they have a little bit more recognizable names and faces and all that along their offensive line. Mitchell Schwartz should not go under recognized. He is a All Pro caliber talent at various points in his career. Duvernay Tardif was pretty underrated as well, and even Eric Fisher has shown some flashes as a former #1 overall pick. But what do you think about the San Francisco offensive line and their ability to kind of keep up with that? I mean, Kansas City offensive line and keep up with that San Francisco defensive front that is very, very talented and loaded with former first rounders.
I mean, it's difficult. It's always gonna be a difficult challenge against those guys. But I feel like the Chiefs have some talented guards, where they will be able to at least have a attempt to hold DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead down, and guys like Lauren Duvernay Tardif and Steven Wisniewski. Guys, veterans, or just very solid players in this league that will have a opportunity to hold their own against a great defensive line.
Nice. So, anything else you want to add about the Kansas City offense that you haven't talked about yet?
No, I'm good to go.
Fabulous. So, for those of you guys who were curious, here is, again, partially line specific game plan. But first priority has to be stopping Patrick Mahomes, forcing contained pressure from the edge, like Lions have done at that point in the season, will be key. So again, we talked about this a little bit in the San Francisco video, but it'll be very interesting to see how much they send Bosa on a straight rush, compared to just kind of limiting Mahomes' ability to move around and make plays outside of the pocket, because he is fantastic when he gets a chance to kind of get away from the crowded pocket at times, and it almost opens up some lanes for him. Because I don't know if it's like a throwing lane thing, because it's not like a height issue, but he almost gives himself a little bit more vision of the field, I guess is one way to phrase it.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost kind of sees his reads a little bit better when he's outside the pocket. It's the same thing that Aaron Rodgers does. So, fascinating to see what San Francisco's game plan is to keep him contained, both literally and philosophically. Also, line specific man coverage, but winning in the trenches will be critical to stopping the rushing attack as well. Which is why I'm kind of not really too concerned about San Francisco's ability to. Not San Francisco. Kansas City's ability. Why do I keep flipping them? I said Kansas City in the San Francisco video. San Francisco in the Kansas City video. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
This is why we normally don't record at 4:30 in the morning, fellas.
Yeah, true. And why we don't record NFL content too often.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Anyways,
easier for me to do film breakdowns because I'm actually watching the film. But anyway, getting back to the point, winning at the trenches will be critical to stopping Kansas City's rushing attack, and I think that San Francisco has the ability to win those matchups in the run game, specifically Bosa and Buckner and Armstead, to kind of limit that rushing attack for Kansas City. So this game, I think, for the Chiefs offense has to come down to really winning the pass game. Will you agree with that?
Sorry, can you repeat that real quick?
I'm not really too worried about Kansas City's rushing attack. I think that, honestly, San Francisco is going to have a relatively easy time slowing that down with their defensive line with Buckner and Bosa and Armstead. So I think that for Kansas City to win this game, they're really going to have to kind of put that pressure on Mahomes and win through the air as a passing offense.
I agree. I feel like that, especially considering the strength of the 49ers defense is on the defensive line in that front seven, and it's a bit weak. And the back seven's definitely a bit weaker. I feel like passing is going to definitely be the way to go for the Chiefs.
One thing that I'm just looking back on this, one thing that I found absolutely hilarious is the Chiefs don't have very many gotta have plays. Ugh. And then I just think about that Kelsey play. Oh, unbelievable. Anyway, so one thing again, another thing that we talked about in the San Francisco video was the time of possession. And we talked about this mainly from a San Francisco having to kind of limit their time of possession. But at this point in the game, or at this point in this season, the Chiefs were actually doing a pretty decent job of holding on to the football late in games. And as I kind of expected, that's ended up slowing down over the course of a season. So we'll take a look at, we'll just do halves this time. And refresh this. For those of you guys who didn't watch all the way to the end of the San Francisco video, so you guys get to see this for the first time. But Kansas City was about 49.5% time possession in the first half of games, which is actually slightly ahead of San Francisco. So how do you think the first half time of possession battle will end up faring for or against Kansas City? Braden?
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the time of possession battle for Kansas City and San Francisco. How do you think that time of possession battle? This is the first half stat. Kansas City at 49.5 and San Francisco about 49. Do you think that will play in favor of or against Kansas City?
In the first half, I feel like it's gonna be in favor of Kansas City. Honestly, due to be the fact that I think it'll take San Francisco a possession or two to truly get the run game established, and at that point, Kansas City will be able to, rely on Mahomes to get some points early on. I feel like to maybe come out to an early lead early and it'll take the 49ers a little bit to catch back up, and which I feel like they are more than capable of doing it. So yeah, but at the same time, I feel like with that being considered, I still feel that Kansas City has that advantage in the first half.
Nice. So then we move to the second half here. And you guys will see a pretty drastic change. San Francisco shoots all the way up to number 2. And Kansas City is still sitting in the bottom, almost 10. And all the way down to 48%. So how much do you think that this has to change for Kansas City to win against San Francisco tonight?
Although yes, absolutely. I mean, you can only win. You can't win games if you don't have the ball, and you can't. You have to have the ball to score, and if you don't have the ball, you can't score. And normally, if you can't score, you can't win. So yeah, it's very important to where once the 49ers are settled in and they have their running game clicking, the Chiefs have got to make adjustments to figure out how to stop it and get the ball back to Mahomes. And even if he doesn't necessarily have the ball for the longest time, he still has to limit the time that the 49ers have the ball, regardless of if Mahomes scores in 3 plays or not. I'm good on
So,
that
how
point.
much of that, I think, kind of staying on the point of possession, do you think could end up worrying on the Kansas City defense? We'll get more into the defense specifically later on, but from a possession standpoint on the offensive side.
I mean, the, you're, well, you're, I mean, yeah, I mean, the defense will need to step up and be able to get the ball back to the offense. They got to figure out a way to make their adjustments and get the ball back
Well,
for.
the other way around.
Oh,
More so focusing on keeping the defense off the field
I mean, yeah,
against the
it's
San Francisco rushing attack.
yeah. My bad. It's like yes, it's also important. If you have to be able to sustain a drive every once in a while to give your defense some rest. And while it's great to score in 2 plays realistically that's not going to happen, and you got to figure out the way to grind out a 6-minute drive to get your defense some rest. And you got to be able to do that once or twice throughout the game to figure, more like 2 to 3 times throughout the game to figure out how to figure out what adjustments need to be done, and for the Chiefs' sake, hopefully pull out a win.
Nice. So, anything else you want to add on the time of possession point for
No,
either first half or second half?
I said my piece.
Cool. Uh, Sweet. So that covers most of what I wanted to get to with the Kansas City offense. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't talked about or anything? Or
No, I'm
revisit a
good.
point to kind of emphasize?
No, I'm all right.
Awesome. But yeah, I guess the one thing that I want to really go back to is their offense is really going to have to run through Mahomes today for them to win. I really don't think they're going to have too much success running the ball. Maybe they do, and it'll surprise me a little bit. But I really do think that for Kansas City to win, it's going to have to be because Patrick Mahomes throws for 300 plus yards and a couple of touchdowns. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Sweet. So, moving on from the offensive side of the ball to the Chiefs' historical weakness, the defense. First off, I guess we'll start off with generic basic defensive overall arching thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Spagnuolo hire? Because I was a really big fan of him when he was with the Giants a long, long time ago, back in like the early 2000s. No, not the early 2000s, the late 2000s. So
I
like
mean,
before
yeah,
2010.
he's definitely. I've noticed a pretty sizable improvement in the Chiefs. In the past couple of years, you'd basically been able to do whatever you want on the secondary, but now the secondary's starting to come together. They're starting to tighten up a little bit, and while they're not where they probably where they need or want to be, they're definitely showing some progress in this first year under Spangola.
Nice. Anything from a schematic standpoint that you think has really kind of stood out to you?
Um. Oh. I won't lie. If my brain wasn't completely fried because it's almost 3 a.m., I'd probably be able to come up with something. But right now, I'm just drawing a blank. Just being honest.
Fair enough. I really do think that the one thing I want to highlight from that particular standpoint is the pressure. And the way that they're able to get pressure in a variety of different ways. Because they're a team that has a pretty good front four. And Frank Clark, Derek Nagy, who's a pretty good run defender, Terrell Suggs, who's probably more of your rotational pass rusher, and Chris Jones. But they can get heat without sending all those guys or sending more than those guys and bring a safety or a linebacker on in blitz. So it'll be very interesting to see how they attack that San Francisco offensive front. And if these big guys, specifically Jones and Nagy, are going to be able to win that front, I guess, line and winning the trenches, because that's going to be critical against that 49ers rushing attack. Your take?
I agree. I mean, it's going to be the interior defensive line is going to be critical because they're not able to lock up and win in the trenches, it's going to be a lot easier for the 49ers to just run the football and grind out clock and limit how much Mahomes is able to get on the field.
Nice. So yeah, kind of sticking with that possession point, how much of that do you think? You talked about turnovers a little bit before I stopped you and reverted the convo back. Do you want to rehash that?
Huh? What did you say, real quick?
When I was talking about the Kansas City offense time of possession, you started talking about like turnovers and getting San Francisco's offense off the field. Do you want to kind of
Yeah.
bring that back up a little bit? How
Yeah,
that would
sure. I
impact
mean,
the defense?
it's always important, especially against an offense like that, where the defense isn't going to have a whole. I don't know how many opportunities you're going to have to get a turnover because Mostert, I can't remember, hasn't fumbled a whole lot. And
He hasn't had a
and
whole lot of carries, but
that is true, but you got to find. You're going to have small opportunities. You may get one opportunity to recover a fumble, or Garoppolo throws two bad passes, but whenever you get that opportunity, you have to be able to grab onto it and get that turnover to give Mahomes a possible short field and more so give yourself some rest to where when the 49ers go back out, you're able to have more energy to fight against that rushing attack.
nice. So, at this point in the year, it was still very early into the Spagnuolo defense, which is why some of this again is I like the offense is probably going to be somewhat outdated. And there are some things that have gotten a lot better since this point in the season. They've continued to evolve and grow, and that's one of the main reasons why they're here at the Super Bowl in Miami. But first thing I want to point out is the run game. At this point in the year, Kansas City had struggled against Mark Ingram. Of course, Baltimore's running offense ended up being basically historic. Josh Jacobs, who almost won Rookie of the Year, and Leonard Fournette, who was also a top 5 former pick at running back.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about the improvement, I guess, kind of going off at that point, of the Chiefs' run defense as the season has gone on? Do you think that they're kind of hitting their peak now? Or do you think that this is something that's kind of going to come back to bite them and that maybe they started to go on a stretch, but now that they're playing an elite rush offense again in San Francisco, that maybe they will struggle again?
No, I think they're starting to hit their peak, to be honest with you, because obviously they went up against the hottest running back in football in the AFC Championship and Derrick Henry, and they did a very good job containing him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So if they play like that again, I don't see why they couldn't do that to Raheem Mostert and the 49ers. It's going to be a challenge, but at the same time, they're definitely improved. They have a lot of talent on the defensive line, and I feel like they definitely have the capability if they play up to their level, the level they can play. They definitely have a good shot of shutting down the 49ers rushing defense, which will force Garoppolo to win the game, which at this point the jury is still out on whether he can do that. And,
Is there anyone in particular that you'd like to highlight that will be a key portion of their run defense?
um, uh, let's go with we'll start Chris Jones. Why not? This dude is an incredible player. He's just able to do it all, and I hope they make him the highest paid defensive tackle in the league.
Kansas City or someone else?
Kansas City, because that's a different discussion. Never mind. But no, he's just an incredible. He's just a great player, and he's just able to do whatever is asked of him, whether it's stopping the run as a nose tackle or just rushing the passer as a three tech. He's able to do it all. So if he's not able to get on his game, it's going to be very difficult for everyone else around him to get going as well. So I feel like he's going to be the main guy to push to see where the 49 to see where the Chiefs run defense is today.
Very nice. So, anything else you want to highlight about their ability to defend the run, including any other player?
You know, one underrated guy that I'm a pretty big fan of is, it's a combination of two guys, but the two guys they've taken in the third round the past couple of years, Saunders and Ndai, they're two very good more run stuffing guys. They're both very solid. They have a lot of natural power, and they're able to just they're definitely able to they're able to block shit not too bad, and they're very solid players in the run game for run defense for Kansas City.
Sweet. Does that kind of wrap up that little portion for you?
Yeah, most definitely.
Nice. So here's a little bit of a note on the importance of first downs. Again, that specifically probably has gotten quite a bit better since I wrote this.
Mm-hmm. You can. There we go.
Oops. Cool. So let's move on to their passing defense. I guess I'll let you, before I even get into my article, again, highlight anyone that you would like to talk about first before I go into my analysis.
I'm gonna highlight Daniel Sorensen. He's one of the most underrated safeties in the league, in my opinion. Just very solid, in general. He's very solid as one of as a cover two deep safety, but he's also very good in stopping the run. Able to come down, be that robber guy and to cover one robber, and he's just, able to. He's going to be very one. I think he's going to be the underrated piece in stopping the rushing attack of San Francisco today. He's going to be a very vital piece for them that doesn't necessarily get talked about all that much.
Nice. Anyone else that you want to point out first?
Also, let's go to the other safety, Tyrann Mathieu. He should have been both him and Justin Simmons should have been Pro Bowlers. They both had very damn good seasons. So yeah, the Chiefs have, in my opinion, the most underrated safety duo in the league.
Oh wow, okay.
And that pains me to say it, but yes, they have a very good safety duo, in my opinion.
Nice. So you think that they should pay Tyrann big to stay?
I'm pretty sure he's locked up a couple more years.
Oh, is
but
he?
I would not be against making him the highest paid safety as well. Gotta walk up. We gotta figure out a way to let some people go. That's just the inside joke with me and the Broncos group chat. So yeah. Anyway.
So one guy that you didn't really talk about, we kind of focused on the coverage guys a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I'm going to go a little bit about Frank Clark, former Michigan kid, known more so for his time in Seattle. But it was really interesting to see what Kansas City did from a roster construction standpoint this year in terms of flipping over their edges. Letting go of Justin Houston, letting go of Dee Ford, which we talked about in the last video.
I'm pretty sure.
What?
They traded Dee Ford, pretty sure. Either way.
But still, letting go of...
Yeah, my fault. Sorry. I'll shut up.
Moving on from him, I guess, is probably better phrasing, if you prefer it that way.
Sorry.
From Dee Ford, and putting him a guy like Frank Clark, more of your fit for your traditional forefront look. And he has, from what I remember, had a very, very good season. Can you attest to that?
Yeah, I'd say he had a pretty solid season.
Nice. So, yeah, pass rushing threat. Someone who can make a play and get to the quarterback when you need him to sometimes. Might be able to draw a double team away on occasion as well. So So definitely someone to keep an eye out. Someone to keep an eye out for over the course of today's game. And yeah, most of that is okay. Is there anything else from a passing standpoint that you really want to highlight from Kansas City's defense? Specifically their corners, because we haven't. Neither one of us has talked about their corners yet.
I honestly like their corners too. Like talent wise, they just Kendall Fuller's a very, very, very good nickel corner for them. He's gonna
Right.
be he's gonna be very crucial for them if Emmanuel Sanders lines up in the slot, or if they want to put Debo in the slot. Although I don't think they do that much, but yeah, he's going to be very vital for them. And also Rashad Breeland, very another solid corner that you know is going to be interested to see how he goes against Sanders and Debo. You know they have solid depth. You know it's just takes a little bit to get together and start forming and performing well in your new scheme.
Very nice. Yeah, I remember when Morris Claiborne got drafted. I don't know if that's the same one. I think the other one ended up with the Cowboys, but
I'm pretty sure that's the same guy who was drafted by the Cowboys.
gotcha. Yeah.
I didn't know there was another one. To be honest with you,
Deron Lee, very well from the first game of Matt Patricia's Lions coaching career. Reggie Ragland is pretty interesting as well. Dwayne O'Daniel, I remember out of Clemson, watching his tape with Austin Bryant. And
that you have.
side. Very interesting. Damian Wilson, Anthony Hitchens, lawyer with playoff experience as well. Someone who is most known in Detroit for the pass interference play.
Yeah, fun. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I mean playoff experience. They have a lot of, they have experience and they have talent in the linebacking core as well. So I'm excited. I'm really intrigued to see how they work.
Just now noticed that 3 of their players are free agents from Dallas or trades.
Yeah, that's right. And another thing I just noticed is they only list 2 linebackers. They don't list 3 of them.
Oh yeah, because you're basing nickel 4-2-5.
Yeah. I just didn't notice that until just now. And that's interesting that their base is nickel.
Is it really not for anyone else though? I mean, like, if you think about it, like the Chargers are the only team
that doesn't have base nickel.
That really doesn't run a base nickel, and that's because they run a base dime.
You're right about that. That's interesting. Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense from that aspect, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess before I get into my previous ways to beat them, what do you do if you're Kansas City? I mean, if you're San Francisco, to attack this type of defense? Because for me, I think it really comes down to having to rely on Debo and
Emmanuel
Sanders to win their battles against these corners.
Yeah, I think you honestly, what you got to do is I would be early in the game. I'd be running a good bit of play action, seeing if you can get some shots downfield, if you can get some chuck plays 10, 15 yards against these corners, and if Sanders and Debo can win their one-on-ones, and then, if you're having success with the play action, then start running the football. So I feel like if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm running a few play actions to start the football game on today.
Nice. Now, what areas do you think that George Kittle can exploit? Because we talked about Tyrann Mathieu and I should say, talked about Tyrann Mathieu and Daniel Sorensen. Do you think that either of those guys, if not both of them, have the potential to cover a George Kittle type, or are they just good but not that level good?
No, I think they have the ability. Yeah, I think they have the ability.
Do they have
I
the
mean,
scheme?
mm, uh, I I don't know. It kind of flips flops, but I would hope, I would assume that, I would hope, at least for this game, that you would put him on. You would put Tyrann Mathieu or more so on a George Kittle, because that's a far better matchup for you than a Anthony Hitchens or a Damian Wilson or Reggie Ragland. So I feel like it may not necessarily be in your scheme before, but you got to make it work today with having putting a Tyrann Mathieu or a Daniel Sorensen on George Kittle.
Nice. So what do you think about their ability to limit running backs out of the backfield then? If you're putting your safeties on Kittle, do you think that your linebackers are going to have the capacity to be able to factor and help limit the San Francisco passing attack to those running backs?
I don't know. It's going to be tough because they aren't the most athletic, with the exception of maybe Reggie Ragland. They aren't, and also Darren Lee. They aren't the most. They aren't the most athletic. So if I feel like if you have Damian Wilson or Anthony Hitchens on the field and they're covering a running back, that's the way you're going to be able to. That's a matchup you want to exploit, in my opinion. And you want to be able to get swing passes out of the backfield, maybe a halfback screen. But yeah, if Hitchens or Wilson is on Mostert or Breida or even Coleman, that's a matchup you got to exploit, in my opinion, if you're San Francisco.
Excellent. So anything else that you want to highlight before I get to the end of?
No, you're good. Just send it.
Cool. So here was what I had suggested back then, focusing on Frank Clark and limiting him. I talked about that a little bit earlier as well. You talked about Tyrann Mathieu, who's their back-end playmaker, limiting mistakes. And like we talked about with the Chiefs' offense being able to attack all three levels, San Francisco's going to have to do the same thing, attacking all three levels of the field, both intermediate, short, and long distance, and making sure that you find a variety of ways to beat this Kansas City team, whether it be force feeding George Kittle, running the ball down their throat. You got to find. Obviously, it is the Super Bowl. You have to find a way to win. Period. But you have to find a good way to beat Kansas City and not just win. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Oh, and you talked about this too, so I'll let you kind of wrap up the defensive point with this one. And that is aggressiveness. I remember it being a main focal point in San Francisco, but yeah, I don't remember if we talked about it in this one or not yet. So I'll let you go on that little spiel again as well.
One sec. Oh yeah, you got to be I was saying how you got to be aggressive and stuff. You know, you got to be aggressive. You know, you're gonna be able to get one-on-one matchups on it with your if you're San Francisco, with your Richie Jameses, your Kendrick Bournes, your Dante Pettises. You got to be able to be aggressive, and you know, if you get those one-on-one opportunities, you have to take those deep shots down the field. That's how you know they may not get those third and fourth receivers. They may not get constant production, but if they can get that one or two big plays in this game to turn the tide and maybe turn the final score in your favor, you got to take advantage. You got to be aggressive, and you can't be afraid of taking that shot down the field.
Nice. So does that kind of wrap up your thoughts on the defensive side for Kansas City?
Yes.
fantastic. So finally comes the special teams, and Kansas City has some of the best special teams in the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Butker, I remember being one of the best. I think he was the most accurate kicker. Was that it?
I do not know. It
I don't
sounds
remember
something
if it
right.
was last year or this year, but I know one of these recent years he was had a 100% field goal rate. I think it was
It was
incredibly
close to it,
accurate
but yeah.
kicker. And
Also
Dustin
has an
Colquitt.
absolutely big. He has a huge leg, and Dustin Colquitt, brother of former Broncos punter Brenton Colquitt. Sorry, they mention that for like a decade every time they play, and it gets annoying. So, anyway, but yeah, Dustin Colquitt, he's been a very good kick punter for a long time, and so they have a very damn good special teams unit, and especially having Cole Hardman and Tyreek Hill back returning kicks and punts, that's going to be a tough thing for San Francisco to handle.
And another thing too about their special teams is they have Dave Taub as their special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
Who is someone who is very highly respected, one of the best special teams coordinators in the league, along with Judge and Simmons and Braden Coombs, who's now with Detroit. So a lot of well-respected coaches as well as players in this particular game. And we talked about all the coaches, I think, at this point. We talked about Bieniemy, we talked about Spags, I just mentioned Dave Taub. We talked a little bit about Robert Saleh, and of course Kyle Shanahan. And Andy Reid. But actually, we haven't really talked a whole lot about Andy Reid. So let's get to that for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be mad if Andy Reid won a Super Bowl, even if it was with Kansas City? Like, at what point do you kind of just want to root for Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl?
No, I would not be mad if Andy Reid won. I wouldn't be mad that Andy Reid won the Super Bowl. I'd just be kind of upset with who he won it with. If that makes sense, because I have nothing against the guy personally.
Because I feel like a lot of people are kind of rooting for Kansas City just to see Andy Reid win a ring.
No.
Do you feel like that's been the case?
Yeah, probably. That's probably the case.
On the other hand, there's also a reason he hasn't exactly won a ring yet, or gotten to this point in however many years it's been since he was here with the Eagles. And do you think that maybe his history of, to put it bluntly, choking in playoff games could play a factor in this? Or do you think that he's kind of moving past that and it's a team thing, and maybe it's a personnel issue, or whatever the reason?
I would like to think he moves past it, because in both, especially the Houston game, that looked like it was full. He was going full Reid, like hardcore, and he pulled out of it. So I think he's starting to pull past that.
And do you think that Mahomes is one of the reasons, maybe why?
Yes, having Patrick Mahomes is definitely a big reason why.
Because I feel like Mahomes can kind of, I guess, save things from going too far into collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like limit those negative falls and help rebound once we get to those lower points. So
yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see the coaching battle between two of the better offensive minds in football who have helped. I don't want to say create motion offenses, but really bring to light the potentials that motion offense can have at the NFL level. Would you say that's
sure.
a fair statement? Cool. So anything else special teams wise that you want to touch on that we haven't really gotten to?
No.
Anything else coaching wise?
No.
Sweet. Anything else about Kansas City just in general? Evan Stevens, special teams coaching, history.
History, I'll keep my thoughts on what the history to myself. So I'm ready to just wrap this up.
Fabulous. So we do have one more thing that we didn't get to in the San Francisco video.
What is it? A prediction?
Yes.
All
Do you
right.
want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Why don't you go first?
All right. So personally, for me, I see this game going one of three ways. The first way is San Francisco wins in a blowout. They find some way to shut down Patrick Mahomes with their number one pass defense, and their rush offense doesn't do as much as I think. In which case, you're probably going to see something like a 31-10 type of game for San Francisco. The second way I see it going is the exact opposite of that. And that's where Kansas City's passing offense explodes. Mahomes goes for 400-something yards against his own heavy defense. And basically, they tear apart the San Francisco pass defense that really isn't equipped to match up with this type of team. And in that case, they're probably going to see a very high-scoring game. San Francisco trying to catch up and play aggressive and take those shots. And Mahomes just keeps scoring and adding points and adding points. So with that type of game, you're probably looking at something like a 49-21 type of win for Kansas City. The third way, I think, is the most likely way, and that's when you get a little bit of a combination of both. And that's when I see it going like the Lions game. And that is a tight game, basically, throughout the course of the game, where San Francisco might hold the lead, they might be up 3, they might be up 7, they might even be up 10 points. But Mahomes in the fourth quarter can score 2 touchdowns down in games. He's shown that this year as one of his biggest development tools. And even like you mentioned with the one game where they came back, the Texans game, Mahomes has shown the ability that he can pull off pretty distant comebacks as well this year in big moments. So, personally, for me, I think the most likely outcome is that we see a pretty tightly contested game, and I feel like Kansas City is probably going to come out with this one by a score. So we're looking probably at like a 31-24, 31-28, 34-28, 34-31 type of game in favor of Kansas City. Because I feel like San Francisco's rush offense is going to slow them down and limit their own possessions. And basically, it's going to be San Francisco that's forced to score on every possession because they're too busy focusing on limiting the Kansas City offense that they don't necessarily put up enough points themselves. Your turn.
All right. This is tough. I think it's mostly everyone agrees that this is going to be very tightly contested, and I feel this is tough. But it's just my gut feeling says that in the end, Pat Mahomes is just going to be a little too much, and I think the Chiefs will pull it out by a field goal.
So we both think Chiefs by less than a score, basically.
Yeah, it may not necessarily be a last second field goal to win. It may be one of those where it's like 34, like 33-31 or something, where they just pull it out last moment. And I just think that the Chiefs will be just a little too much for the 49ers.
It'll be very interesting to see this whole game play out, though, because there are definitely some matchups that both teams are going to be able to exploit on both sides of the football. San Francisco might not have the secondary to keep up with that Kansas City passing off those weapons, but man, it is hard to say that at this point before the Super Bowl that I personally wouldn't even think about predicting that Kansas City offensive line shutting down the Stanford D line.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think at this point, looking at it ahead of time and trying to predict, And that San Francisco defensive line has to be a factor. So, and same thing goes for the other way. I mean, it's pretty easy to say that San Francisco should be able to run the football, but I would not be too terribly surprised if Kansas City finds a way to help neutralize that passing attack and limit their non-Kittle weapons. Uh, so it'll be fascinating to kind of see how those win one, lose one, tie one, whatever matchups and the sway of things and the way that the game is controlled, uh, I guess kind of, I don't want to say predict, but kind of change the way that the game is viewed when final scores ring up because you can simulate this game 50 times in Madden, or, well, not necessarily Madden, but like, and you
In
can
a
play this game
computer.
50 times, I guess is the best way to put it. And there's a pretty good chance that probably 25 of those times, a team is going to win a different way than they did a previous time. Whether that be the Chiefs force feeding Tyreek Hill down the field and stretching, the 49ers force feeding George Kittle and winning. There's so many different pathways for each team to win or lose this game, just based on the trajectory and the events that unfold along the way. And this will be one of those games where we can watch the pregame show 2 minutes before the game starts and see all the analysts predicting, oh, I think Kansas City's going to win. I think San Francisco's going to win. I think Kansas City's going to win. And we won't know who's going to win until like maybe halftime, if not later.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of some games where like you kind of tell like in the first couple minutes, like the Baltimore New England game. Like Baltimore had a pretty good idea what New England was going to try and do to stop him, and Lamar Jackson just ate him up. And I don't necessarily think this game is going to be like that. It could, hypothetically, but the chances of that happening are probably like 3
Small.
in 50.
Hmm. All right. Would you say it's safe to say this is one of the hardest Super Bowls to predict in the most recent years?
Let's see, what were the other Super Bowl matchups?
Patriots and Rams.
I think I don't even remember who I predicted in that game, but I'm pretty sure I felt more confident with that.
And then Eagles and Patriots, Falcons and Patriots.
I got both of those wrong. I thought
Yeah, I got.
I thought the Patriots were going to lose to Atlanta. I felt pretty confident in that, and I felt pretty confident that the Patriots were going to beat the Eagles. So
I was the other way around. Actually, no, I was pretty confident the Patriots were. I thought the Eagles were gonna win, and that's on video. I said the Eagles would win by 10, and they almost did.
I don't remember what I said on video, but in hindsight, I think I remember.
Yeah, and then the Super Bowl 50 Broncos and Panthers.
Yeah, I think I had Denver.
Yeah.
That one was like kind of hard to predict though too, because like you could find ways where kind of like if Kansas City loses, like there are ways Mahomes could, especially ahead of time, you could find ways Mahomes dominates and wins easily. Like right now we're sitting here, we think Kansas City is going to win. In hindsight, that might look really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was kind of the same way with Carolina going into that. Like Carolina I think they were the 15-1 team, right?
Yeah, they were 15 and
And
1.
Cam Newton was like a
He was the
very
league
good
MVP.
MVP candidate.
No, he won the MVP that year.
Right, yeah. That's what I'm saying. He was a very good MVP. So, like, it was very possible that Cam Newton just tore apart Denver's defense and won that game. Just based on how good he was that season. I think that there's similar ways that you can see that happening with this. So I'd say that's kind of similar in that way, I guess. What other games were there? Had Seattle beating New England. I think the last time that I really had a Super Bowl that was this hard to predict was probably the Ravens 49ers game.
All right, well.
The Harbaugh brothers game in New Orleans, I had no idea going in who was going to win that. Because both teams were kind of overrated at that point to me. I didn't really care that much for Colin Kaepernick, and I didn't really care that much for Joe Flacco.
Thanks for humor.
So, yeah, I would say that one was definitely harder to predict for me, personally. I feel more confident that the Chiefs are going to win than I did about Baltimore.
But it's one of the hardest in a while, you would say.
Yeah, within the last 5 years.
Alrighty, well, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, so do you want to do something fun to kind of wrap this up without leaving out your prediction?
Sure.
Cool. Let me do this. So this is just kind of going to be a rapid fire segment here.
Oh God, I'm gonna make myself I'm gonna embarrass myself with the way my brain is right now.
Okay, well I'm going to be doing it with you too. So if we're wrong, we can be wrong or right together.
So we'll be alrighty.
Okay. First question: will the national anthem take longer or shorter than 2 minutes?
Longer.
I honestly think it's going to be shorter, but it's Demi Lovato, so who knows?
Oh.
Will the length of the word brave be over 5 seconds or under 5 seconds?
Over.
I agree. Will any scoring drive take less time than it takes Demi Lovato to sing the national anthem?
No.
I think it will. Kansas City is going to score in less than 3 minutes at one point in the game.
I thought it was 2 minutes, the over-under for Demi Lovato.
Oh, okay. Still, I think they have the potential to score in under 2 minutes. And
yes,
there's always the potential for a pick six or a fumble six or something like that too, keep in mind.
Or like a kickoff return.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think if it was 3 minutes, I'd say yes, but no. For 2 minutes, I think that's just a little too much to say under 2.
Fair enough. Will the opening kickoff be a touchback, yes or no?
Yes.
Interesting. The favorite right now seems to be no, but I kind of agree with you. I'm going to go with yes. The first offensive play from scrimmage be a run play or, quote, something else?
Something else.
I agree. Will either team score in the first 6 minutes of the game?
Yes.
I agree. For some reason, no is the favorite. I don't get why. The Chiefs have scored in the first 5.5 minutes in just 3 games this season, including the playoffs.
That's interesting.
I still think they will.
Is it score a touchdown or score just points?
Score points.
Then definitely yes.
I tend to agree with you.
If it was a touchdown, I'd be like maybe not, but no. If a field goal counts, then yes.
Right. This one is probably one of the harder ones on here. Which team will score first? Because in all honesty, to me, it's going to be whoever wins the coin toss.
Yeah. I'm going to say San Francisco.
Okay, yeah, that's the favorite. I agree. What will the first score of the game be? A touchdown or something else?
Touchdown.
Interesting. Something else is favored. I agree with you. I think it'll be a touchdown. Touchdown seems like the smarter play in this era of football, but coaches tend to be more conservative at the beginning of Super Bowls. First
Okay.
player to score. We talked about this off camera, but first player to score a touchdown.
There's no like options or just pick one.
I mean, there's like 25 different options, so I won't go over all of them.
What do we say if it's a passing touchdown?
The receiver.
Okay.
Or I should say the pass catcher.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm going to go with mine. I think it's going to be George Kittle.
I'm gonna say Emmanuel Sanders.
Interesting. Jersey number of the first player to score a touchdown.
17, because that's Sanders.
Okay, so whatever Kittle's is I guess
85. For Kittle, I believe, is
okay,
85.
so yours would be 11 to 20, which is actually the favorite, and mine is 80 to 99. What will happen first, a sack or a touchdown? For me, it's going to be a sack.
Yeah, sack.
Especially considering the pass rush of both teams. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
First team to commit a turnover. So turn the ball over on offense.
Kansas City.
I think it's going to be San Francisco. Result of the first coach's challenge, if there is one, overturned or upheld?
Upheld.
I agree. I don't know why overturned is the favorite. That seems really, really dumb. Neither of these coaches has a great track record when it comes to challenges, but both had excellent records in their first seasons.
What coach does have a good track record with challenging?
Not Andy Reid, Matt Patricia, or
probably Bill Belichick.
Kyle Shanahan.
I don't know.
The longest touchdown in terms of yards in the game. Over or under 45 yards?
Over.
I feel like under, but that doesn't say anything about the play. So I feel like it could be like one of those situations where you have like an 80-yard play, or not 80, like 70-yard play that ends up with like the 5-yard line, and then you have like a 5-yard touchdown, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say under for that reason. I think there's going to be like 50-yard plays, but those 50-yard plays don't end up as touchdowns.
I'm going to say over.
The shortest touchdown in the game, over or under 2 yards?
Under.
I agree. Fullback dives for the win.
Yeah.
Total touchdowns by both teams, over or under 7?
Over. Wait, can we take? Is there an option to just take take the? Oh, what's the new word?
Okay, well the actual to be fair, I say 7. It's actually 6.5.
If it's over, that's yes, 7 over.
Okay.
If it's 6.5.
Yeah, I'll go with under. Under is actually the favorite. I tend to agree with that. I think it's probably going to be in like your 30s to high 20s. So that's like 3 touchdowns apiece. 6. Makes sense to me. Will there be a special teams or defensive touchdown?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to go with no, but I would not be surprised either. Oh, wow, there have been 8 non-offensive touchdowns in the last 11 Super Bowls. Cool. Will there be a successful 2-point conversion? I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty decent bet to say
no
yes.
is a heavy favorite for some reason, but
that's cap.
Given both teams are so aggressive and it's going to be a close game, I think it would be. The shortest field goal made, over or under 26.5 yards?
So shortest field goal?
Yeah. Over for me.
I'm going to go over as well.
If you're kicking it from that short, you're going to get so much heat.
Yeah.
There has been a field goal of less than 27 yards just one time in the last 6 Super Bowls.
Fun.
Will both teams make a field goal of 35 or longer? Yes.
Yeah, I don't see how that doesn't happen.
Again, I don't know how that's not the favorite either.
Okay, whoever made these odds are Stupid as hell.
This prop bet is harder to hit than you may think. Robbie Gould has only made 8 field goals of 35 yards all year, and the pressure will be on Shanahan to go for it on 4th down,
But what if
knowing
it's
that it will
4th and
take more
10?
points and touchdowns to beat the Kansas City Chiefs than field
What
goals.
if it's like a 4th and 11 and it's like a 42-yard field goal?
Right.
You're kicking that shit all day.
Harrison Butker should do his job to hit, but I like the value on no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. That's stupid.
I still think it will be.
Yeah, that's a
total
yes.
field goals made by both teams, though, I will change it up. The over/under is 3.5. I think it's going to be like closer to 3.
I'm gonna say under.
Right. Will there be 3 unanswered scores in this game?
What? 3 unanswered scores?
So, like, will the Chiefs score 3 straight field goals or 3 straight touchdowns, or vice versa?
No. I'm gonna say no.
Again, the person who made these odds is really dumb because the favorite is yes. But I don't think it will be. If it is,
I would. If it was. Sorry, go ahead.
if it is a team that scores 3 unanswered scores, my bet is it's Kansas City.
Yeah.
I just don't see San Francisco giving 3 straight scores to Kansas City.
Yeah. If it was 2, I'd be inclined to say yes.
I could see that.
Yeah, but not. I don't see 3.
Okay, getting into stuff that I'm a little bit less knowledgeable on. Good luck with this yourself. Which song will Jennifer Lopez sing first at halftime? Get Right or something else?
I'll say get right because I have no idea.
For reference, apparently there's a leaked set list that supposedly has this the top song.
All right, we're gonna say yeah.
Which song will Shakira sing first at halftime? She Wolf or anything else?
Anything else?
Okay, for the same reason they have She Wolf as the favorite, because apparently there's a leaked set list. Number of Jennifer Lopez wardrobe changes, over or under 2.5?
Over.
I completely agree with that. Right. Total kickoff returns in a game, 5.5, under, over.
Under.
Oh, because that includes someone taking it out. Okay, so yeah, in that case it would be under. Kickoffs? Way more than 5.5 kickoffs.
Yes,
Returns?
kickoffs.
Probably not. Total yards between the two teams, over under 781.5. So that works out to like 341 yards a team.
That's tough. I'm gonna lean under.
Actually, no, that'd be wrong because that would be like 600 something.
I'm gonna lean under.
I'm gonna go with over personally. A lot of yards, not as many points.
I think it's gonna be vice versa. Although that shit doesn't make sense. Fuck it, we'll go over.
Most rushing yards in the game, 49ers or Chiefs?
49ers.
I totally agree with that. Team with more time of possession. I think this is a pretty easy one.
49ers.
They're rightfully favored. I completely agree with that.
Thankful. Were the 49ers favorited on the rushing yards?
Wash, even.
That's at least better than saying the Chiefs were favorites.
Team with the longest play from scrimmage.
Chiefs.
I have to agree with the favorite, Kansas City there. Total players with a passing attempt over the course of the game, over or under 2.5.
I'm gonna go over.
I agree. Under is the slight favorite, but honestly,
someone's gonna try something.
There's going to be a trick play or also not
a fake.
Oh, that's not where I was going to go. I consider that a trick play. there's also the possibility, for better or worse, of an injury.
That's true.
Where a player has to come out for a play or two or whatever, or a drive. And I don't think a team would run the ball on like 10 straight plays. So if an injury were to happen, the over is the clear favorite in that case.
Doesn't necessarily say completed. It just says attempt, right?
Right.
Yeah, then I'm going to say over. Someone's going to do a fake or a trick play.
Total interceptions over under 1.5. For me, it's
Under.
Total sacks over under 4.5.
Over.
Over is the favorite. I could definitely see that happening. Because it's by both teams. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
3
If
sacks
it was
from
for
one team
one
and 2 from
team,
the other.
yeah, if it was 4.5, 5 from one team, I'd probably go under. But yeah, for combined sacks, 4.5, let me holler at that over.
Team with most penalty yards, 49ers or Chiefs?
49ers.
It was too late. Before you say anything, in terms of number of penalties, the matchup between these teams is a coin flip. The Chiefs were docked 185 more yards over the course of the regular season than their opponents, while 49ers slightly were better in terms of penalty yardage splits.
I'll go 49ers. More yards, penalty yards, personally. Don't know why.
I go San Francisco.
Yeah.
Largest lead at any point in the game, over or under 13.5?
Under.
I don't necessarily agree. I think there's going to be a team that's up by at least 2 touchdowns. And then a team will score like a touchdown or field goal and make it like a 4-point game. You know?
Yeah.
Will the game ever be tied again after the first tie of 0-0 is broken?
Yes.
I agree. Okay, so we talked about a couple of these off camera a little bit, so most of these are going to be repetitive for us, but for the purpose of the video. Patrick Mahomes over under 305 passing yards.
Over.
I agree. Damian Williams over under 53 rushing yards.
Over, regardless of whether they win or not.
Under for me. Again, regardless of whether they win or not. Tyreek Hill over under 72 receiving yards.
Again, regardless of whether they win or not, over.
I agree. Travis Kelce over under 78.
Over.
I agree. Will Frank Clark record at least a full sack?
Why not?
Yes, I agree. Garoppolo over under 240 passing yards.
Over.
I'm going to go under. Raheem Mostert over under 74 rushing yards.
Hard over.
Interesting. I agree. Rushes for 98 yards in simulations. This 220-yard explosion versus the Packers notwithstanding, he averaged 5.6 yards per carry in the regular season, and will now face a team that ranked 29th in yards per carry on defense. He needs just 14 carries at his regular season per rush average, and it's hard to imagine him not getting that after a huge game last time out. Emmanuel Sanders over under 43 receiving yards?
Yeah, holler at that over.
I have no idea how under is favored.
What are you even looking at? What website are you even looking at?
CBS.
Oh, how many more of these do you have left?
We're about 4/5 of the way through, about 80%.
Already.
Sanders has seen just 2 targets in his team's 2 playoff games, and with the Chiefs being much stronger defending the pass than the run, it's going to take an unexpected volume of targets for Sanders to hit 44 yards. George Kittle receiving yards over under 74.
I'm going to be bold and say under.
I'll go over. It's a wash, to be fair. Will Dee Ford record at least a full sack?
Yes.
I'm going to go no. He's too rotational for me. Late game props. Will either team score in the final 3.5 minutes of the game, yes or no?
Yes.
I agree.
And that'll be the winner.
Team to score last in the game, Chiefs or 49ers.
Chiefs.
Basically a wash in terms of actual.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs to win it in the final 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams do. If the 49ers score, like, to go up, like, 28-24, and then, like, with 2 minutes left, and the Chiefs pull off, like, a 2-minute drive, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Last score of the game, touchdown or other.
Touchdown.
I totally agree with that. Player to score the last touchdown.
Tyreek Hill.
I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. Will the last play of the game be a quarterback rush, which includes a kneel down?
No. I think it's going to be like some sort of Hail Mary attempt by Garoppolo.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's a no for me, I guess. Bonus says, will the game go into overtime?
That would be epic, but no.
Right.
I hope I'm wrong on that one. That would be fun.
That is a minus 1,300.
On yes?
On what?
No is a minus 1,300.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot how gambling works for a hot second.
Game decided by exactly 3 points.
Yes.
For me, that's a no.
I'm gonna say yes.
It's going to be like 4 or 6 or 7 or 10 or
you know what?
1.
I'm gonna change my mind and say no.
The chances that it ends at exactly 3 points
No.
are very, very slim because there are so many different point combinations.
You know what would be epic? A scoregami in the Super Bowl.
Oh my god.
That would be epic.
That would be hilarious.
The internet would explode if that happened.
And then the final one, another one that we've already talked about quite a bit off camera, is who will be the MVP?
Mahomes.
So, just for fun, some of the other options, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's CBS's choice.
Why?
What?
Why is Garoppolo the choice?
Plus 250.
Whatever.
Whereas Mahomes is minus 130.
Interesting.
Monster plus 700, Damian Williams plus 1,000, Kittle plus 1,500, Emmanuel Sanders plus 1,500 would be very interesting. Travis Kelce plus 1,800, Deebo Samuel plus 1,800. Mention your rookie receiver winning Super Bowl MVP. Tyreek Hill is a very interesting option in terms of value at plus 1,800.
Yeah, I'd put a couple bucks on that.
That's honestly probably gonna be my choice, just simply based on the value. And then your two plus 3,000s are Sammy Watkins and Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, if I'm betting, I'd put a couple bucks in Tyreek Hill just for the pure value that you would the risk reward is pretty. The reward to the risk is pretty high.
Right, because if you get 3 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown, that's an MVP caliber performance in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, say you get like 4 catches for $1.72 and 2 touchdowns.
That isn't easy. I mean, assuming it doesn't go to Mahomes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It'll go to Mahomes, but if the 49ers win, I think it'll go to Mostert or a defensive player.
Yep. Patrick Mahomes is the most likely option, but if you think the Chiefs are going to win, you should just take the money line if those odds are better than Mahomes MVP odds.
Yeah.
So we're going with the value play. A long shot ticket entry here, if you want to bet on a distant long shot, is Tyrann Mathieu, who has 100 to 1 odds.
100 to 1?
Yeah.
So if you put $1 in, you get $100.
Right.
I'd throw like $3 on there just for the shits.
Because if he gets an interception,
all right,
and it's like a game-stealing interception or something like that.
Yeah, you never know.
That'd be awesome.
It's time to go to bed.
So, anyway,
we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, learned a thing or two. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this over the course of next coming days, weeks, months, maybe years. We'll see. Normally do prospect breakdowns and draft-based content. So this is a little bit different than the normal type of video that we do, but we will be doing some NFL stuff as well as we approach free agency and the off season. I think we're probably gonna end up doing an off season preview or two along the way too. So, but
Alrighty.
anything else you want to talk about Super Bowl related?
No.
Fabulous. With that being said, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. But for now, oh, and enjoy the Super Bowl. Have a fantastic Super Bowl Sunday. But for now, peace out.